Cool. Okay. So tomorrow I am giving a workshop for the honors department, honors course, study program, honors study program, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to structure this session and what I want to cover. So the main thing, the core idea that I want to explore is something that's on the intersection of achieving, wanting to achieve, needing to achieve, something of development and growing, but simultaneously taking a step back and taking a more balanced approach and letting go in order to move forward, right? So sort of this effortless excellence, one could almost say, right? So how can you achieve effortless excellence? And since most of these students will be quite perfectionist and they will be driven and ambitious, some of them will have this as a form of expression and curiosity, but also some of them will have this as a um, thing to achieve, and they're doing it for the outcome, right? They justify the means for the outcome. And that's something I really want to impart to them, that you are here to learn. You are here to explore. You are here to try new things. And it doesn't really matter that you um, get a good grade or that somebody else tells you. That's the thing, right? Somebody else is going to tell you that you are competent enough or that you are good enough. And I think it's much more interesting to think for yourself. Am I living up to who I want to be? And am I expressing myself honestly and sincerely? Whatever that means to you, right? Competence is just a vehicle, competence is just a tool that you use in order to express yourself more fluently and more elaborately. So if you start treating competence in and of itself as a goal, you're missing the point, because the goal is not the competence. The competence is a tool. It's a process. It's a way of expressing yourself. But the goal or the thing that you want to do is express yourself honestly. And maybe even combine that, right? If we would tie that into the simplicity, if we're tying that into the producer versus the artist article, maybe the goal is even more a balance between expressing yourself honestly and trying to fulfill a problem that other people might have, right? So you're trying to help people solve a problem that they have. You're doing this from a point of service, ideally, and not necessarily just because you see this problem as something to be fixed, right? You see an exploit, rather you see a problem to be fixed so you can exploit that in order to create a bunch of wealth for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with creating wealth, but I think the main point ideally should be expressing yourself honestly while also being in service of other people. And then competence is a way to do both of those things better, right? So if I'm competent at being let's see, I'm a competent designer, right? And I have this beautiful visual design in my head that I want to put out there on the paper, then my competence as a designer allows me to make something that is in my head, right? So I get to translate this expression of myself. Simultaneously, if I'm competent as a designer, or maybe if I'm competent as a UX researcher, I get to really understand the needs of the people that I'm trying to serve. And in understanding their needs, I can build a solution, or at least think about building a solution that is better suited to fixing their problems. So competence should be a tool for expressing yourself and serving other people. Now, in doing that, you get all the rewards that you might be seeking. In doing that, you will get the status, you will get the money, you will get network, access, all those things. But you're starting, like we said in yesterday's video, you start by giving, and that's when you receive, rather than having the focus on, okay, but I need to have this competence. I need to have this result so that I can get this status, so that I can get recognition, right? So it's like turning it on its head. And I think that's the core of this entire workshop. It's like turning everything on its head, right? Instead of working harder, for example, you could spend more time working. You could spend more energy working. What happens if you do the opposite? What if you don't work for a day? Or what if you start working on a slower pace? What happens? Instead of clinging to this outcome or to this goal or to this thing that you're pursuing, what if you let it go? What happens when you let it go? And when you do that, when you turn things upside down, you have two benefits, right? Benefit number one is that if this was something that wasn't actually meant to be held onto, in letting it go, you free up a lot of energy, right? So a lot of energy is freed up. If you were pursuing this goal, right? I need to finish this honors program. Maybe not the best example, but okay, I need to finish this project that I'm working on, this goal that I'm working on. You're clinging to that, right? And it becomes this very tense thing that you're working towards. But then when you let it go, you realize that was not actually at all what I should have been working towards. And then all the energy that frees up from there, you can use for something else, something that's more meaningful to you. The other option is that when you let it go, then the energy is freed up, and then you realize actually how important it is, and you can find and reignite the spark that was inside of you, because now you're not seeing it as important because this is something that you cling on to, but you're seeing it as something important because when you let go, the depth of your being and your honest interest is in this thing. So in that sense, it can help you to recommit. In both cases, it's helpful to let go for a while or to turn things upside down, right? If I go to the gym every single day and I've been doing this and it becomes this monotonous grind and things start getting boring and I'm feeling demotivated, step back for a week. Don't go to the gym for a week and see what happens. And if all this freed up time and energy gives you time to do something else and you're actually enjoying that other thing, then maybe the gym isn't your place. But if after a week you start feeling a bit jittery, a bit restless, and you're thinking, hey, I'm really looking forward to this workout, then maybe the gym for you is the place to go. So I think that should be the anchoring of this workshop. So then, taking into consideration the things that the students have already covered. If I remember correctly, they already had a workshop on something along the lines of goal setting, something along the lines of productivity, maybe excellence. Maybe that's another interesting topic to explore. What is excellence? What does it mean to be excellent at something? My 2 cents there would be that being excellent at something means excellent contains the word excel, right? It means going beyond, going above. There's an element of transcendence almost in it, right? Excellence is transcendence. But it's also making a value judgment. You're saying this thing is not just good, it's much better. It is excellent, right? It's beyond goodness. So there's a value judgment there that in excellence, you're doing something of the highest possible value, right? You're doing something of the highest possible value. If you want to do something of the highest possible value, you first have to determine what is valuable. And the problem that you might run into, the problem that you will run into, is that other people are going to tell you what is valuable. And society is going to tell you what is valuable. This university is going to tell you what is valuable. And there will be a kernel of truth in there. And it might even be more than a kernel. It might be a big ball of truth. but there's also going to be a whole lot of baloney in there. And for you, the difficult challenge is to tease those apart and to not let somebody else's values become your values, but to listen to what you truly want, what you really think is important, what you really think is valuable. Because if you know what is valuable, then you know what it means to excel, right? Then you know what it means to go beyond. And if you're excelling at something that isn't really valuable to you, you're not really excelling. Actually, you're wasting a lot of your potential and you're not contributing what you could really be contributing. So my argument would be that in order for you to truly excel, you need to first understand what it is that success means to you, what it is that value means to you. No, not value. That what is the most valuable thing for you to do. And after we've defined excel, after we've defined excellence rather, then we can think about effortless. So if this is what you truly want to do, want to achieve, want to put forward, then how do you get there in an effortless way? Effort to me means strain. Right? It means to strain to do something. It means the burden, the load, carrying the burden, carrying the load. It's a hard thing. Effortless means the opposite of those things. So it's not heavy, it's light. It's not a burden, it's a gift. And it's not effort, it's effortless, right? So it's almost happening of its own accord. And that happens automatically to a certain degree, right? It's difficult, and that sounds weird, but it's difficult to truly be effortless. But to a certain degree, effortless happens by itself if you bring things into alignment, right? If you bring two things into alignment. Suppose there is a log floating down the river. Let's say there's a human floating down the river. If you swim with the river, you're going to go much faster than if you swim against the river. And even if you choose not to swim, which would be the ideal, not the ideal, that would be like, maybe that's a good analogy, right? Okay, so there's a river, and the river is going downstream. If you were to do nothing, absolutely nothing, no effort, but also no effortless action, you're just doing nothing, you just drift and you go wherever the river takes you, right? It's a very passive mode of being. If you were to take the effortful route, you would swim up against the river. It will take you a lot of energy and a lot of time and resources to get a little bit of movement going, to get a little bit of distance covered, right? If you were to go down with the river and swim along, now that is effortless. That is effortless, right? You're taking the flow as it comes, and you're using that flow to get you to where you want to go, right? So in life, you want to try to find the path of least resistance, the path that is most effortless, and then put effort into that. So it's like an effortless effort, right? You try to minimize the resistance, but not from a place of not wanting to do anything, but from a place of flow and just letting it come, letting it flow. So that is the alignment between you and the world, the context that you live in. And two things there are important. One is the context, so you need to understand the context in which you're operating, and that can be intellectual understanding, but mostly it's going to be physical understanding. It's going to be experiential understanding, right? Contextual intelligence. What is the context that I'm operating with? And then the second part that you need to understand is who am I as the person inside of this context? Who am I as the agent inside of this context? Because if I am a tennis player but I'm on the soccer court, I won't be able to play my game. It's going to take a lot of effort. But if I'm a tennis player, I'm on a tennis court, then those two things are in alignment. So to bring them into alignment, we want to understand the context, and we want to understand ourselves in that context. We want to understand the arena, and we want to understand the agent that is inside of this arena. And then when we bring those into balance, that's when effortless action happens. And if that's effortless, then the excellence part is, okay, now that we are here, we're on the tennis court, I am the tennis player, what is the goal? What is the goal that is valuable to me? Right? Because if I'm a tennis player, but I don't actually want to win a Grand Slam, but much rather I want to win a marathon race, then I need to change something. I need to change my context. Maybe I need to change something about myself. And I want to bring those three things into alignment, right? So I want to judge for myself what is valuable, the goal, what is the thing that I want to put into the world, what's an honest expression of who I truly am, and then bring that expression in alignment with my surrounding. And if those two things come together, then we get effortless excellence. So there's many different arenas to play around with in life. And I created this model, which is called the 6 life areas, which is a way of sort of looking at different potential arenas, different places where you exist, where you can embed yourself. And one of these places is the physical arena, right? This is everything related to you as a meat vehicle, as this being that is here in this world. So here are things that you can think about for yourself.